Boys in the Hood with Fury Styles took his son and Trey and Ice Cube's character to this neighborhood and basically was talking about gentrification. That movie was almost 30 years ago. Yeah. Now we're actually seeing it. And like Donny said, it kind of went over our head, but maybe we should have been paying a little bit more attention to it back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we should have. And like he was saying, there's always a plan. There's always a plan in place. Cities and, your leadership and your all the people in our cities who create our population and draw our lines, from our students to housing to whatever, they have plans in place that are 10 to 15 to 20 years ahead, that's looking at how they can change things, how they can change certain areas, how they can redraw certain lines, boundary lines. So this doesn't happen overnight. This isn't an overnight thing. It's just that we sleep on it regularly. This is just a part of a cultural thing. We sleep on things that are important. And
why do we do that?
Yeah. Because in a sense, it's not, we don't think about it because we don't see it as something for us. We don't see it as ours. It's not our community. We don't think about those things. We don't care about those changes. It doesn't seem like it's affecting us right then and there. It's just a cultural mindset. It's the way we see things, and you.
Come on, go ahead, Mo, because the thing is, like, we don't see it, but when we gonna wake up? Because Hall has been like 20 years now. So we ain't never gonna wake up.
That's right. Yeah, I know, exactly. That's the sad thing, and a lot of it is, it's stuff that we're teaching even our children. It's basic actions that we're teaching from foundation, and as we grow up, we're seeing these things over and over, and we just continue to be blind about it. And so it's going to take something to hit you heavy in the head, and you lose everything for you to realize it. And that's when everyone wakes up, typically, and it hurts. That's when it hurts.
Go on, Mo. We can't hear you. Go on, Mo.
Well, I mean, I want to take it from a different perspective in terms of generational wealth and in terms of how the experience of Black people moves. I mean, we move at a different pace. So I'm not saying I'm not looking at it, but I want to give it to you like this. After World War II, with the GI Bill, which created the American middle class, which later creates the Black middle class, is when we begin to see Black people go to college and we see Black home ownership. They move into the cities, and what white people do is they move out to the suburbs in terms of to get away from Black people. Well, what happens is 30 years later, in the 1970s and 80s, we begin to try to move out to the suburbs because oftentimes we mimic what white America does. And now, and so the 1980s is when you see that, when Boys in the Hood comes out and Furious Styles is, hitting us with the good stuff. But then what happens is now we're 30 years from that, and you see an absolute reverse. So there is no conversation. You don't hear anything about the inner city anymore. That's not, and so there are all kinds of policies and ideas. And so when we begin to talk about this, when I get into my conversation around Atlanta and how Atlanta worked it out, it was drawn up and it was done 50 years ago. Mm-hmm. And they're looking at what we're going to be looking at in 2070 if we're here. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is that I don't think it's something that we're being taught. I think that in terms of generational wealth, we don't have the capital to be able to own. And that's a part of the conversation on reparations and all kinds of different things. So I don't want to give it all out just now, but I think that there are some historical moments that we must consider.
I disagree with you, Mo. I think we have the capital to own, man. I think we just put our capital in the wrong places. You know what I'm saying? Because we gotta take chances, Mo, man. We just can't be saying, oh, we don't have the capital. Man, I could take $20,000 and flip it, man, and try to go do something positive and buy some houses and redo them and stuff like that. We have to stop saying what we can do and go out and do it.
But that's not the same capital that they have. And I'm gonna give you an example of what I mean. If you've ever been to Atlanta, you all know, most of y'all have some kind of connection with Atlanta. You all know where the Bluff is?
No, I don't.
Bluff is about a stone throw from the new Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That is one of the roughest areas. They're selling, I'm talking about, drugs. I'm talking about prostitution, trafficking, crime, the whole nine. Man, they are selling bungalows for $450,000, $500,000. Now, I do well financially, but I can't go in and just buy that like that. I mean, I do well, and I could, but I don't want to do that when I have other options. And so what I'm saying is that we're looking right now. Atlanta just was presented, an opportunity to possibly host the World Cup. That's why they got that stadium. That's why they're gentrifying Atlanta. So it's not some kind of, we're just blowing in the wind and we can do whatever we want to do. They have scripted this thing from years back. And I can show you 6 ways to Sunday.
And I'll ask that same question. Why is it that some neighborhoods that people consider so bad, why is it so attractive to these investors to buy in the first place?
Because of their access to certain pieces of the community. For example, near the Mercedes-Benz, we'll talk back about Atlanta, near that area, I used to live over there. And so near that area, there is the basketball stadium, the downtown Atlanta, all the skyscrapers, CNN, you name it, everything is down there. It's accessible. And so people who live literally a stone's throw can walk. They don't have to drive their car. They don't have to pay $75 to $100 to park to go to the Falcon to see the Falcons play. They can just walk. And so who, if I can afford this, why do I have to bus in to see something that I should be able to walk across the street from? So it's the access. It's the access to the city. And so that's what people crave when you, especially if you have art, you have the money, you are cultured, you're a cosmopolitan, you want access to the arts, to the city, to all the great things that the city has, culture, food, dining, you want access. And that's what they're paying for. That's what they're taking.
What I'm saying is white people have access to this. They got their information. We got the same information.
Yeah.
I understand it's a money thing when it comes to certain things, but we invest, like Donny said, in a lot of other stuff, but property value always seems to go up.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That we can have this mindset to have the same information that they have and invest back into our own community so that we can help the community out.
And Mike, what's crazy about that, I remember when Magic Johnson had the Magic Johnson Theater by King Boulevard and Crenshaw, like he had all that. You know what I'm saying? So why didn't he buy it? He had the money. You know what I'm saying? Now this dude named Fred Lees is over there buying up over everything. And I was pissed off because I went over there, he wanted to sell me a building. And I was like, and I walked in his office, and I'm like, okay, you in the hood, but I walk in your office, you got all these other cultures working in your office, but don't have any black people. I said, I'm not buying no building from you. What I'm about to do, I'm about to go in there and invest my dollars, and I'm going to go buy some stuff, and I'm just going to try to keep building. Whoever want to get down with me, we can get down. But that's prime real estate right there in LA and all around there. Whatever's closest to the beach is prime real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And it's happening in Inglewood right now because there is a stadium that's being built in Inglewood. You know that's happening. When they started to actually refurbish the Forum here in LA, you knew it was about to happen. When you see these types of trends, you should just go ahead and jump in and get the properties that you can. I don't understand. I can understand what you said, Mo, when it's individual houses or whatever, but why can't you come together as a group? You can get together and you can buy all this other stuff. Why can't Donny stack his money with Mo's money and say, you know what? We need to invest in these properties because in 10 years, guess what we're going to do? We're going to not quadruple, but it's going to be worth 20 times as much.
Right.
I want to give you an example of the catalyst, though, on why you're seeing that in LA. I mean, we're talking about the Olympification of Los Angeles for the next Olympics. So they jacked up the prices. And I want to give you this understanding. You all are familiar with the Honorable Maynard Holbrook Jackson Jr., the first black mayor of Atlanta, correct?
Yes.
He got in office. Black contractors only got 0.3% of all city contracts. By the time he left office, they got 35%. That was a form of civil and human rights in terms of economic inclusion. It was used for the public and private sector. He produced a lot of millionaires. Yeah. I think he had about $10 billion come through during his 12 years as mayor. 35% of 10 billion is $3.5 billion. That's how you get it. And to be honest with you, Atlanta is one of the few places that can do that. So,
Atlanta does that. Like that airport down there, built by black people. That runway built by black people. I mean, all those contracts. How come there are a lot of black mayors in a lot of these inner cities? How come they're not giving out these contracts? Some of these black contractors to make sure that we can continue to invest within our own community so that we can keep our community safe, sound, affordable, and friendly. I mean, for anybody.
Hey, Mike, because we don't know about them.
We don't. It's
a
mindset.
We don't know about the programs. And that's the problem. If we know about the programs, man, we can go and we can try to get some. We need to start being educated on how to get that money because I don't know how to get it. Because if I knew how to go get it, man, I'm going to go get some of that money, man. You feel me?
Tell me how to go get it then, Mo.
Well, so this is the thing. You have what your city has to have is real joint ventures, minority business ventures, partner with majority and whatnot. The problem is Maynard Jackson was just a bold lion to be able to pull that off. And he couldn't get a job in Atlanta after he had done that. I mean, the good old boys really, paid him retribution because of it. Yeah, it's the politics of it. But the thing about that is, the problem is, and just to put it in short, is we have elected officials in office that don't put people before profit.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And we got to hold them accountable.
And you know what, man? We also got to hold ourselves accountable as black
exactly.
people. Let me tell you something, man. I was an idiot. I'm buying Ferraris, Bentleys, Rolls Royces, and I can't do a damn thing with none of that instead of buying some property, man. Mm-hmm. I used to keep my money in the closet. My uncle used to say, man, money can't do nothing with it in the closet. You know what I'm saying? So we have to get out that mindset and start doing something to understand. And, they're not making no more land. So we have to go out here and get some of that land, man, because that land is power from my point of view.
Exactly. It is. And again, it's a mindset. It is a mindset, and it's a want. We have to want it. We have to start looking for our futures. And we don't. We live day to day. We live paycheck to paycheck, pillar to post, but we don't live 10 to 20 years out. We're not planning. We aren't a planning mindset people. So we have to start planning. We have to start thinking. We have to also have the mindset that this belongs to me as well. It's mine. This land, my ancestors worked hard for this. So I have a stake in it too. So if I don't put my stake in it, then of course it's going to slip through my hands.
So,
I grew up in Alabama, but I have Mississippi roots. My father's family is the largest black landowning family in the United States. The land has been in our family since around 1870. It's more than 1,000 acres. And the mindset that those rural black people in Mississippi, my grandfathers were founders of the Mississippi military clubs, to where they went toe to toe with the Klan. You got to understand that there are some of us. That's what, when I created the whole concept of the Black New South, that's what it comes from. Is when I would go to school and the white principal at my school as a kid would give my parents the free lunch application, my father would come up to that school and he says, I don't depend on anyone to feed my kids, because he had grown up on land where they grew their food, they cut their timber. When he wanted to go to college, they sold 2 cows and gave him tuition money. What I'm saying is that we can't say we and us, because that's not my experience. And I know a lot of people down south who are from rural areas who own land and think that same way. So we have a real understanding about who we're talking about when we say we and us. And I know that some of what I'm saying is an enigma. I know it's an anomaly. But what I'm saying is that there are rural people, black people across the American South that own, and they clearly understand where they are, and they're leasing that land out with cell towers. They're doing all kinds of different things with it. And so we have to be careful about, what we're talking about in terms of that.
Yeah. We don't want to not sugarcoat, but paint with a broad brush, I should say, everybody. But at the same time, you coming on this show and dropping some of the knowledge to help people, to educate, because that's what Donny is talking about. We just need to educate our brothers and sisters, and for them to make their own decisions. As one of our viewers just said, C.M. Williams said, other coaches don't have a 5-year plan. They have a 100-year plan. So we got to start thinking about all the terms.
And Mike, another thing, we have to stop saying that we can't do something, because, we're not slaves anymore. And if they start stopping us from doing something, that's when we put out the guns, and we say, you're gonna let us do something. You know what I'm saying? But we can't be sitting around here and talk, we can't do it, because we put our resources together, me, Mo, Antonia, we all put our resources together, man. We can do this, man. I like black money. You know what I mean? I like getting down with my brothers and sisters, man, because it's fun, man, because we learn from each other, and we can do it. We all can do it. I hope we start doing it. You know what I'm saying?
That's the whole thing. It's like, we're not slaves anymore, but we can't have that slave mentality.
Exactly.
Right.